we have this guy on the phone. For those of you, if you're like us, used to have a stereo with a turntable. And, of course, to put on that turntable, you had your albums. And when CDs came in, everybody kind of put their album collection away. And I've kept mine. Brian's kept his. Many of you have kept yours. Could it be that some of your albums that you've saved are worth money? On the phone to help us figure this out is John Marshall. Good morning, John.
Good morning, guys.
John is a 30-year veteran radio personality and one of America's most widely respected record collectors and historians.
In your record collection, John, could you tell us what you're most attached to, your biggest prize?
Right now it would be an Elvis record called Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Now, this was a big hit back in the early 60s, and as a 45, it's worth up to about $40, but RCA also made it as a 7-inch 33, which means the size of a 45, but playing at album speed. And that, with its cover right now, $16,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, John, most people, for it to be worth any money,
yep,
the album has to be an original release. It can't be a reissue, right?
Well, reissues do have some value, but obviously the original issues are going to have the most value. The earlier issues, sort of like a rookie card, baseball card collecting, the early issues always tend to bring the most money.
Does the album cover have to be in as good and pristine shape as the vinyl itself?
Well, most of the time you're going to get a 50-50 split between the album cover and the vinyl. 50% for the cover, 50% for the vinyl. There are cases where it's just the album cover that's worth the money. With a 45, however, there's always two prices, one for the record and a separate for what we call the picture sleeve cover. And those picture sleeve covers are always going to be worth more than the actual 45. The big one out there, Rolling Stones, 1968 Street Fighting Man, record up to about $20. Picture sleeve cover, currently up to $10,000.
Wow.
Doing what you do, you got to imagine there is literally a treasure, a hidden treasure out there in people's attics that they don't know what they have, and there's got to be millions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the biggest source of finding these things is still yard sales, and I've done this for about 30 years. If you go to yard sales looking for records, you don't see any, always ask, do you have any records? A lot of people don't bother putting them out. They don't think anybody will want them.
All right, now speaking of covers, you say here that Yesterday and Today, the Beatles, a 1966 stereo LP, $25,000, but it has to be the original cover.
Right. This would be what is known as the butcher cover, showing the Beatles dressed as butchers holding chopped up rubber dolls and raw meat. When it was first issued back in 66, it was thought to be quite offensive, but of course today you wouldn't even notice. But back then they recalled it quickly. Original stereo copies, 3 of them have sold for as much as $25,000 each.
Wow. Now, how can somebody, if they've got a vast collection, how can somebody find out if their individual collection is worth any money?
Well, we put out what we call record collector kits. These kits are designed to tell you the values for well over 1 million records, everything that's collectible from 1902 right up to the present day. And if you want to sell them, how to go about doing that. If I may give you an 800 number and people can order one of those kits.
Please.
It is 800-653-2258. 800-653-2258.
All right, John, we've been promoting you for the last couple of days, so we've got a bunch of listeners on the phone who want to ask questions. Is that cool with you?
Good.
All right, let's go to Fred on line 1. Hey, Fred, you're on the air.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, this is John Marshall.
Hey, John, I wondered, I had 2 questions real quick. I have a 45 of the Beatles' Twist and Shout, the original.
Yes.
And I was wondering if that was worth anything.
Well, the original label would be Tolly. That's
who it is.
Yeah, up to $75. We say up to because it does depend on condition.
Sure. And also, I have a Bob Seger picture disc, the old picture disc that's still in the Night Moves picture disc, still sealed up.
Well,
those things worth anything?
Some picture discs are worth more than others, and they're not a new phenomenon. They actually started back in the 1930s. But the Seeger one's up to about $20 to $25.
All right.
All right, Jim, you're on the air with John Marshall.
Hi, good morning, Mark and Brian. Hi, John.
Hey, Jim.
Hi.
I've got the original print of the Leonard Skinner Street Survivors unopened.
Well, 2 things. Number one, the one with the flames is the more valuable of the 2, but there are a lot of them out there, currently up to $40. Second thing, not necessarily a good idea to keep it unopened. You want to break the seal, let the record breathe. Otherwise, you run the risk of the record inside pressing against the cover over time and causing that circular indentation on the cover, which can ruin the value of the cover.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and many times one way we tell the price of a record many times is by the color of the label, and we'll never know that unless we break the seal.
Russ, you're on the air with John Marshall.
Hello. I got a couple Elvis albums. I got one acetate. It's Tell Me the Truth by Elvis. And I got a Frankie and Johnny.
Yes.
With the picture in it.
Yes.
The bonus picture. And also I have one of the Christmas albums.
Well, the Tell the Truth is a bootleg, so we're not talking any money for a bootleg. Frankie and Johnny's up to $50. You can add another $50 for the 12 by 12 photo that came inside.
Wow.
And the Christmas album, do you have it in front of you?
No, I don't. It's at home. I'm driving around right now.
Okay, there are a lot of variations of the Christmas album. The one that's worth the most money on the cover will have the catalog number LOC 1035.
That's it.
Okay, that's up to $500 if it's black vinyl. Up to $18,000 if it's red vinyl.
$18,000. What color's the vinyl?
It's black.
Well,
black vinyl.
99.9% of them were. So the red one is very rare.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There you go, Russ. Thank you for the call. And
Russ got him a collector's item.
let's go to Phil. Phil, you're on the air.
Hey, who do you?
Hey. You.
Hey, I've got a Led Zeppelin bootleg album. It's called Going to California. It's purportedly the 1971 Forum concert.
No established monetary value for bootlegs for two reasons. Number one, they're illegal.
Right.
And number two, one way we put a price or a value on a record is to have an idea of how many were released. And we can get those figures from legitimate record companies, but with a bootleg, there's no way of telling.
Damn.
Now, this isn't to say that somebody wouldn't pay you for one. It's just to say that there's no way of establishing a value. But I can tell you, in all the time that I've done this, I've never seen a bootleg sell for much money.
Wow.
See, that's bad news for me, too, there, John, because I got a bootleg DeFranco family that I wouldn't mind getting rid of.
Let's go to Armando on line 7. Armando, you on the air with John Marshall.
Good morning, Mark and Brian. Morning, John.
Good morning.
Jimi Hendrix, Rainbow Bridge.
Well, for Hendrix, the real value for Hendrix is in the mono versions, not stereo versions of his album. You're looking up to about $30 on that one. The big one, Axis Bold as Love in mono, currently up to $2,000.
Thank you.
John, you know all this stuff. You know all this off the top of your head.
I'm up here in Maine. There's nothing but me, the moose, and the lobster.
Wow. That's a good deal. And your website, again, is www.moneymusic.com. We continue to take calls. Rick, you're on the air.
Yes, hi. I've got a picture disc of Michael Jackson's Thriller album. It's got the pictures on both sides. I got it somewhere about 88. I've never seen anything like it since. I'm just curious. Does it have any value?
You haven't seen only 25 million of them out there. I'm surprised you haven't seen any more.
The picture disc.
I understand. It's not a big collectible, only up to about $10. What's going to happen with Michael value in the future? Well, the jury is still out.
Yeah. Let's go to Daryl on line 9. Daryl, you're on the air with John Marshall.
The Beatles' I Am the Walrus 45 with a perfect cover.
Okay. The original should be on a yellow and orange capital label. Do you know if you have that?
I'd have to dig it out.
Okay. Well, the record itself, the original, would be up to around $30. The picture sleeve cover would be up to around $75.
Okay.
Now, John, are there people that will pay $35 for that?
Oh, sure. The way we establish a price, the way it's established for any collectible, whether it's records, baseball cards, comic books, they're based either on actual recorded sales where somebody paid X amount of dollars for it, or they're the estimates of the best-known collectors in that particular field. We use a database of about 2,000 different collectors to submit estimates, but most of them over the 30 years that we've done this have been established by actual sales.
Now, you mentioned garage sales and yard sales. Do you also go to antique record stores?
Sure, and don't forget thrift stores like Goodwill, Salvation Army.
Sure.
You can often find some very valuable records there. And once in a while, when it's cold and snowy up here, I'll put a little ad in the paper, that I buy records locally, and my phone will ring off the hook all winter.
This is more than a hobby. It's a hobby turned into a job, really.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Now, John, is most of the value in rock and roll, or does it go back to the Dorsey brothers and Glenn Miller and stuff like that?
Well, most of the value right now is in 4 categories: rock and roll, country, blues, jazz. And the most collectible years, as we speak, are the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, there is some value before the 50s and after the 60s, but it's just that the majority is in those 2 decades.
Assuming you log all your entries, your collection, how many albums do you have?
Well, I used to try to collect everything, up to about 10 years ago, but there was only money going out, no money coming in.
Right.
So now I save, my own personal collection is Elvis and rockabilly records, and then I sell everything else. My own personal collection, about 10 to 12,000.
And do you ever pull these albums out that are worth, what, $75,000? Will you pull that out and carefully, put the stylus down on the vinyl? Will you listen to it occasionally?
Never. No, collectors want these as investments. They may play it just once to grade it as for condition.
Right.
But they would never play it again.
Okay.
Wow. Well, John, very, very cool. The unique thing is that with CDs coming in, everybody had a collection of some sort, and they stuck it away thinking it might be worth some money. So if you want to find out whether you have a rare piece, the best way to do it is to go to moneymusic.com, and you can research your own collection right there on that website.
John, enjoyed talking to you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Best of luck.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Take care.